It's time for another episode of The Oil Stream with Dustin Nielsen and Tom Gazzola, presented by Popeye's Louisiana Kitchen.
What's going on, everybody? Happy Friday. It is The Oil Stream with Nielsen and Gazzola, brought to you by Popeye's Louisiana Kitchen. Nothing says heading into a long weekend like a delicious pack of chicken nuggets from Popeye's Louisiana Kitchen. It's definitely one you want to get your hands on. When you're there, you can actually pick up that new Oilers meal that they've got going on. That promotion continues. We're talking a chicken sandwich, nuggets, dipping sauce, the sides, probably a massive beverage of cola, if that's what you're into. So a nice way to celebrate the long weekend. Family long weekend, why not take your family to Popeye's Louisiana Kitchen? Tommy, what's up, buddy?
Not much. Good to see you as always. And really quickly, my one tip when you go to Popeyes or any other fast food place, if you're going to get the big liter cola, don't get ice because they fill it with ice.
Oh, yeah.
I like at Popeyes, though, this is key, and that's why you know you're going to a quality establishment. They don't fill it for you. They give you the freedom to choose.
It's your call.
Exactly. That's the difference right there. It's the little things.
Some places go so crazy with ice. It doesn't make it. Even sometimes, last night I poured myself a vodka and Coke around the house here, Diet Coke. And it was the full glass was ice. And then I filled up with booze, like 3/4 and a little bit of pop off the top. And I was just like, there's really no liquid in here at all because it's so much ice.
That's how they get you, man. That's how they get you.
Over-icing things is probably keeping the fast food industry alive. I'm just going to make a statement. There it is. Get it out there. It's a hot take. Now we can move along with things. Tommy, quick practice this morning. An availability with Jay Woodcroft after. You were down there. Anything significant coming out of it outside of the Puljujarvi injury that we'll obviously get to? But
yeah, I was a little bit surprised to see Mike Smith working in the starters net. And we'll see, I'm sure he's going to start tomorrow. He had a bad start to last night's game, but he picked it up after. And listen, those were cheeky redirection goals too. Really, really clever redirections. But, what was that? 2 goals on 6 shots. I think Brian Swain tweeted it out, and it's something that's plagued him as well as Mikko Koskinen and Stuart Skinner even this year. So, we'll see what happens in terms of next man up, as Jay Woodcroft described it with the right side. And that sucks for Puljujarvi. Lower body injury, 3 to 4 weeks. So we'll see. And Dusty, expect a call up here. If you were to tell me to guess who it might be, if they want to keep it with the right shot guy, I'm guessing Colton Sevier.
Okay, yeah, because you see, that was one of the questions. We got a bunch of questions from people. I said we get to some questions today, so some people hit us up on Twitter, and they're like, who are they going to call up? Who are they going to call up? Is it going to be Holloway? Is it going to be Raphael Lavoie, who's been playing pretty well as of late? And I saw some Seth Griffiths, and I know it's kind of a sexy thing to do, bring up that next young guy, but, I mean, Sevier's played here already, right shot guy, and it's not like they're calling somebody up to slot them in on McDavid's wing, Tommy. Would you think it's going to be Yamamoto up there and then McLeod with Draisaitl and Kane? And then what do you do with that fourth line? Like, I think the easy solution, what makes sense, is Yamamoto up and then McLeod with Kane and Draisaitl. You leave the third line the way it is. Does that not make sense?
It's probably the most methodical way of going about it. Yeah. And then if they want to keep going 11-7 like they did last night, even though, there was some questions if that was going to happen in warm up, but they did stick with it. Then, you can just have a couple of grinders, if you will, like a Sevier if he gets the call. I know Malone got that two-way contract too recently. But, when people bring up Holloway, Dusty, I think he's at 5 points through 11 games. Maybe he's hit that wall a little bit in terms of getting used to the the pro game. Yeah. And, it just goes back to needing more time as a really young player and prospect that has a lot of upside. So, I think it would be one of those guys that we've seen and heard from before. I don't think it's going to be Cooper Marody. I would assume it'd probably be Colton Sevier just because of his rapport being up here for most of the season anyway.
Tommy, last night they fell behind 2-0. You mentioned some power play goals. The guys getting sticks on it, a little bit cheeky. But they got that power play goal late from the second unit, and then bam, 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 6 5-on-5 goals last night, which was pretty impressive. They've now won 4 in a row under Jay Woodcroft. What else stood out for you last night besides coming back from being down 2-0?
I'm liking, again, the third line, and all of a sudden we have a resurgent Derek Ryan, and a Derek Ryan who's, let's call it, lashing out on the former coaching staff a little bit, if you kind of read between the lines. And he talked about just having that trust, and kind of alluded to knowing that he's going to get a regular shift and being able to contribute to the overall effort of the team, and not sitting there and waiting 15 minutes for his next shift. And I think we're seeing that in guys like Warren Fogle playing better as well. To me, that's what's standing out. And, Ryan McLeod's taking another step. We're seeing Evander Kane scoring on a good clip, even though he's probably not up to speed. And then on top of that, Dusty, the second power play unit got a regular shift, and they got the goal. So there's a lot good there. And then the defense, I thought, played a pretty solid game overall as well. Again,
we've got the Ken Morrison Remax question of the day. Let's get to that now, just so I don't steal it or whatever it is, because it's always a mystery to me. I like having it that way. So let's get to your Ken Morrison Remax question of the day. Obviously brought to you by Ken Morrison, a realtor with Remax for 20 years, essentially like a Hall of Famer over there. It's kenrmorrison.com. If you're buying or selling, he's your guy. 780-993-4815. Tommy, what's the question?
All right, Ken Morrison, question of the day, and this is kind of a look ahead, but with that date against the Calgary Flames on March 7th and how well Calgary's playing, 8 straight wins, do you get a sense, Dusty Nielsen, that the Oilers might even be able to compete with the Flames and make a push for the top spot? It's only been 4 games under Woodcroft, but things are looking good, and they might hit a wall next week in Tampa, Florida, and Carolina. Could you see that battle on the 7th being a big one, jockeying for position in the Pacific?
Are we talking like a battle for first place? Is that what you're saying here, Tommy?
Am I getting ahead of myself even? I'll throw that into the mix too.
I don't know. You did mention what they got coming up on this trip out east. Like, that's, if we're asking this question like midway through that trip and we're kind of like, we got a feel for how they've done against some of these big teams in the East, I might be a little bit more willing to say, look, it's a huge game no matter what. We had people texting in today saying, I cannot wait to see Kane drop the gloves with Tkachuk and send a message to Calgary in the Battle of Alberta. And I was like, you know what? That might not be a bad idea. Like, it could be something that we could get to there. So, 2 weeks away. You never know what happens in Tuesday. I'm going to say no. I'm going to say I don't think it's like, hey, whoever wins this game tonight is now in first place in the Pacific. I don't know if it'd be there yet. I do think that it ends up being a pretty close race between those two clubs, whether it be for second. I still kind of think it might be for second. Like, I still think Vegas might end up getting it figured out here at the top, but it's a great battle. I mean, the Oilers are only 2 points behind Vegas as well. It's going to be a pretty good battle between those 3 teams. I still think the Kings and Ducks are going to fade away at some point, maybe opening the door for the Canucks to try to get something in there. But I think Vegas, away. Calgary, and Edmonton are going to the playoffs, I guess. Yeah.
I mean, we saw it yesterday. The Ducks are fading away. That was their 3rd straight regulation loss, 4 in a row, overall. Winless in 4, and they've been struggling. So they're starting to fade. The Kings might, be scrappy and in the mix. Dusty, I think the March 7th game is going to be for, the Oilers might be like 2 points or 4 points back, and it could be one of those closing the gap.
4 points, tests. 4 points wouldn't be. I mean, they're not that far back right now, right? So,
And they close out the road trip against Chicago and Philly.
Yeah. And then they get the Habs.
Even they go. Yeah, that's right. So they could be right there if they have a nice weekend. It's already getting juicy thinking about that Calgary-Edmonton matchup on the 7th. That's why I bring it up. And the Oilers have beaten the Flames a couple times already this season.
The schedule, just leading up to that, just quickly for everybody. They get the Jets and Wild this week, 1 on the road, 1 at home. Then they head off for that trip that we're talking about, Tampa Bay, Florida, Carolina. Oh, man, and Florida, Carolina are back-to-backs Saturday, Sunday. And then you get at Philly and Chicago to wrap up that trip. Tail end of a long trip, so we'll see how they do. But Philly is brutal. Chicago is beatable. And Montreal sucks. And that's what they get before Calgary. So, I mean, even if things don't go well with the Lightning, Panthers, and Canes, like, let's say you win one of them, maybe get another point there somewhere.
Yeah.
With Philly, Chicago, and Montreal, you could have a lot of momentum going into that game against Calgary. So, you might be onto something there, Tommy. It's still a fun question to discuss. It's your Ken Morrison Remax question of the day. Playoff series, Calgary, Edmonton this year. We'll That'd be huge. That'd be huge for the city, huge for our station, huge for the oil stream. It'd be awesome, buddy. That would be great. Evander Kane, better than expected so far, Tommy? What do you think?
Production-wise, yes. Overall game on par with what we should have expected, because he's not up to speed. He said it. He's catching up, but he's still making plays, getting results. So a pleasant result so far, but I don't know if better than expected is there, just because of the play away from the puck and all that. Still, it's coming along. It's not quite there yet.
8 points in 9 games is great when you're still getting up to speed. I mean, I think that's been good. He's shown with his shot, his ability to go to the front of the net's been good. I kind of, when they signed him, I said, okay, well, they need a guy that kind of plays with that chip on his shoulder. But it's been more than I thought. Like, I know he hasn't dropped the gloves. He's not beating the hell out of everybody. But he's stopping at the net, forcing teams to kind of push you out of there, finishing checks and getting a glove up into a guy's face. Like, as crazy as it is, the Oilers had nobody that would be willing to do that. And for Kane, it's just like natural. It comes natural to him. Like, he doesn't have to think about it. It's just how he is on the ice. So I think seeing the prick in him, I guess, is making a bigger impact than I thought it would on the entire group. I think they like knowing that when they're heading to the dressing room, he's standing there chirping the opposition because of something that just happened at the end of the period. Like, I think that goes a long way with a hockey team. So that, I think, has had a little bit more of an impact than I thought it may have on the whole group.
The results are good, that's for sure. And then if the process catches up with the results, you could even almost make the argument that the process has been decent and surprisingly good. But when he's at the top of his game, Dusty, I think there's still another level there, and it might even have more of an impact, which is incredible. A great problem, great scenario to be in if it does get to that point, and I think it will.
Tommy, let's we're gonna have an episode this weekend, everybody. We're doing probably 2 games this weekend. We'll have an episode sometime for you on Sunday, so watch for a new episode on Sunday. So we'll be able to talk about a game on Sunday, the game that's happening Sunday. But Winnipeg, give me some quick thoughts on how this game goes against a Jets team that has I think they scored 11 goals in their last 2 games. Wheeler's finding his game again. He's got 11 points in the last 5 days. Hustler was telling me a little bit earlier on today. So what type of game are you expecting?
They're going to have a battle, and we know the Jets always bring out the best in the Oilers and vice versa, and we saw the Jets, I think there's going to be some bitter taste in the Oilers' mouth, even though they've already faced the Jets, but from the playoffs, and that doesn't go away. So I think we're going to have a good game, and it's never easy in Winnipeg for the Oilers. So it's going to be a matinee matchup that's a battle. The Oilers will be able to match the Jets a little bit more pound for pound. Niemelainen, and you mentioned Kane. I think it's going to be a good afternoon game. I don't know where this one's going to go because the Jets all of a sudden are playing really well. And like I said, the Oilers bring out the best of them. So if it ends up in OT and the Oilers lose, I'd be like, you know what? Jets are playing well.
There we go again, that overtime against the Jets again. Hustler revealed to me in the lock shop today that they call Connor Hellebuck Mr. Matinee in Winnipeg. So apparently he plays well in afternoon games. So keep that in mind. What time are you on with the pregame tomorrow, buddy?
We go at 12:30, and I think we're going to bring on Nick Alberga from NHL Fantasy, a great dude, and looking forward to the show. And I think Struddy was asking about my workout regimen.
Yeah, he was.
We're going more weight, Struds. He was over here yesterday for the day, so he's maybe concerned I've gotten a little bit too skinny.
Get some weight on your body, Tommy. You can have some of mine. It's not muscle, but you can mold it. So that's something that you can work on. For Tom Gazzola, I am Dustin Nielsen. That's another episode of the Oil Stream brought to you by Popeyes Louisiana Kitchen. We will have a weekend episode this long weekend, so watch for that to drop on Sunday. Tommy, we'll talk to you then, buddy.
See you, Dusty.